Hi once again. This is sort of part two of using these sort of drawing tools that I'm sharing with you. Anyway, to start with, I'll carry on from our last little video where we talked about a utility function. And so what we're looking for is 2 points that we'd be indifferent to in terms of the level of satisfaction that it gives to us. So I started off here, as you can see, I've got my little lines out. We've done that already. I got a quantity of 1, quantity of good 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I need some sort of marker for where I am. And for that, I'm going to take I'll take any one of these. I'll take this, say, and I'm going to take that box. But I want something different. I want a point to be in it. I put it over here. And I don't want that. I want, let's call it a big X. Okay, so X marks the spot. So I'm consuming at that point. Now I'm saying I have a certain level of utility associated with that. Let's find another bundle that gives me exactly the same. Well, what should I do about this? Well, in principle, what I should be doing is saying that I'm going to give up a little bit of one, and I can ask how much I need to get back of the other to make me no less well off. Okay, so let me take this line and say, well, I'm going to start there, and I am going to increase the consumption of the good quantity of good 1 to there. In fact, it will make it more useful because you can see lines here, the graphic lines. I'm going to move this so that's right over 1 unit. Quantity of good 1, how much of good 2 would I be willing to give up to get that increase in good 1? So a new spot in which I have more 1, less 2, and leaves me no worse off. I know if I get more, I increase my level of utility. So now it's a question of decreasing the amount of good 2 that I have in order to make me no worse off than where I started. And I'm just going to take it for example and say, that's what it is today. Okay? And now I'm going to put another one of these things down there, and that's going to represent a new indifference point, right? Because I'm indifferent, I've constructed this so that as I go from this X to, I can call that X1, okay, if I go from X to X1, all I've had to use is the notion of positive margin utility. I got more utility because I got more good 1. I then reduced the quantity of good 2 till I just got down in utility to where I started with. Now, to get the next point of indifference, we will require diminishing margin utility. So once again, let's take a decrease, or an increase rather, in the good 1. Okay, and I'm going to increase by the same amount. That's by construction. So the question now is, how much do I decrease X1? Well, let's take this quantity over. And let's just see if that'll do the trick. Okay, first of all, as I get more of good 1, okay, this second unit now gives me less of an increase in utility than the previous unit did because I have diminishing margin utility. Well, on that account, I wouldn't have to give up as much of X2. Okay, on that account alone, because the amount of X2 that I gave up before had to compensate for more of the increase in utility I got from consuming more of X1. So that quantity would have to reduce somewhat. I'll just reduce it there. Let's pretend that's it. But there's a second effect now. In reducing the consumption of good 2 from this point to this point, I have given up a particular level of utility, but when I reduce it further from this point, the bits that I give up now are associated with a higher margin utility. So as you start dropping the quantity of good 2 from here to here, you start losing utility at the margin more quickly than you did over here. So on that account, you go down less. So let's just put it there. What we have is we have the margin utility diminishing margin utility of each good contributes to this trade-off, the amount of good 2 that you reduce being less than the original amount of good 2 you had to give up for the same increase in good 1. Now, if you join these things, if you already, okay, you see that would be one slope, and this slope would start to get a bit flatter. Okay, this is steeper. This is 1, 2, 3 units for 1 unit there, and this I've drawn as 1, 2 units for 1 unit there. The slope is decreasing. You've gone from a slope of 3 to a slope of 2. Okay, well, you keep on doing that for all the other points, and of course what you end up with is, and if you smooth it out, is you end up with a curve that has to look like that. Okay, so it's open, and some people call that convex to the origin, and it would look something like this. So what you have constructed is the argument for an indifference curve that has a slope something like that. So this is at least a pictorial of what it might be. Now, you've got the idea how one indifference curve is. How do you draw an indifference map? An indifference map would say, well, there are many different bundles you can have, and each one would have a level of utility. If I want to get a different level of utility than this one, I would have to start off with step X, and I have to start off, say, someplace like this. Y. Okay, so that's my new bundle Y. And with my new bundle Y, I know that it is a different level of utility than the bundle X, because I have more of both goods, so clearly I'm better off. Well, let's draw another indifference curve through there. Oh, well, I'm going to go through the same example as this, and I'm going to come up with the same sort of trade-offs here, so the curve is going to look something like this. So I can draw another one through there. So I'm drawing an indifference map. All I need is 1 point. Okay. And that 1 point is distinct from every other point at a different utility level. As we go through this, or as you draw this, you can just imagine another point out here, you draw another one, etc., etc. So this is all repeating the same sort of thing. What I want to point out in this is that these don't have to be, as this one perfectly replicates that, as parallel in some sense. It doesn't have to be. In fact, one could say something like this. What happens is these indifference curves look a bit like this. Okay, or even more if you want. Ooh, don't want to get too high. There you go. Notice how they start coming together here and increasing there. All right, nothing wrong with that. This is just an empirical issue as to how your utility increases when you have different combinations of goods. So this is where most of your indifference curve analysis comes from, and note that the embedded model here is preferences. This indifference map shows you preferences over all combinations of goods the person can have, and it's based upon 2 simple things: positive margin utility, diminishing margin utility. Hope that's been of help. Thanks very much. See you later.